Lichess, Germany. I'll play a Sicilian. Maybe I'll play a Sicilian. I haven't played that in a long time, if he lets me. Okay, no. This is a Smith Mora. Declined. Okay, I'm just going to gradually push these pawns up in the center. Wanted to blunt his bishop on this diagonal. And then trade off that advanced center pawn. He trades queens. Interesting. Don't really like it, but that's the way he played it. Yeah, I was worried about this check from his bishop here, but my knight will take the bishop, so it's not a problem. I needed to defend this pawn here. Then I can develop my bishop with tempo here. Develop my knight. Can't castle, but there's no queens on the board, so it doesn't matter so much. Developing the bishop is important so I can actually lift my king up and bring rooks to the center. I think that's the way to do it. So this is going to be a complicated middle game with all the pieces on the board. It's just a queenless middle game. Okay, you can't move the knight with check, so let's kick it. And I can step up here defending this pawn. The bishop defends and the king. And then when he puts the rook there, I'll push forward. Pretty predictable. It's pinned. The pawn is pinned, so the knight is not under threat, really. The main point of that is just to protect the pawn. And keep developing. I can make that knight move anytime by stepping aside with my king. Okay, I activate my the one piece that was not really doing anything. What's he rated? 1704. Maybe he's just going for a draw. I don't know. Not sure. Might be useful to chase the bishop off this diagonal, which I could do with knight here. Then I could step up with the king. That would be useful, I think. There we go. Now I can put my bishop here. His knight has to move. So I need to, no, I don't have to trade rooks here. Let's grab the pawn. A rook. My other rook is defending this rook. Very important to step the king up in these kind of positions. That's why getting rid of that bishop was so important. It was covering those squares. So now I can't really save this bishop. I mean, I can't prevent it from being traded. But I can, let's see, if I go here to attack his knight, he takes my bishop, I take his knight. If he moves the knight, and I move the bishop. And the knight cannot move with check or a threat on a major piece. So I think this is good. And the rook here defends this pawn. And attacks these two. Should be good. Anyway, trading pieces like that, especially a queen so early in the game, indicates a lack of fighting spirit to me. So I don't approve. I mean, maybe technically okay. You can always check these positions out with the computer, see what they think, but not really what not really the way to win, in my opinion. Okay. He could have lifted the rook up here maybe to try and defend the pawn. Yep, centralize the kings for the middle game here. Yeah, it was tempting to bring my king all the way up to defend that rook, but well, now let's step over here. Yeah, I wasn't sure. He might just do something like check my king. But when his king went in front of his rook here, blocking, you know, a check along this file, then I was able to step over with my king. Felt okay. He can't put his rook here. This is protected. Can't put his rook here. Yeah. And I can slide my rook over. Get a passed pawn here. Could have taken that pawn too, but I will get a chance to take it now. So I will just give up this pawn and start pushing the other one. Good move. I was thinking of the check from the side. I would just step up. Well, that wasn't so good. Getting in front of the pawn is kind of where I want to be. Help it, queen. His king is tied down to stopping my pawn, and the rook can block one of these two aisles, but it can't block both of them. So whatever aisle the rook isn't on, I will put my rook on it, and then I will step my king over and bring the pawn in. Bring the pawn in. He can take this pawn now, of course, but that loses because I will queen. So what to do? I go here then. We'll see. I don't know. Maybe there's some way he can sneak a draw. Sometimes, because this pawn's on the other side, sometimes that's enough. So I step aside. He could have just taken that pawn. I guess he wanted to come down here. Yeah, this wins because his king can't get in to attack my pawn, and can't even get over to defend his pawn. Okay, so let's bring the king over. And he resigned, yeah. Drives him to the back row and then mate with king and rook. Don't need that other pawn. Okay, that was a good game. Let's see, maybe we can get a rapid game here. I'll try the English. So he's going to play d5, I guess. I'll go along with that. Trade it off. If he takes, he could have taken with the queen. If he takes with the pawn, I can bring my bishop out. And now I can bring my knight out. I have seen that before. I just think it's a funny idea to give up a knight. I mean, a bishop for a knight, and without any particular motivation. I mean, he doesn't win a pawn over here. Weakened this pawn. If it was under fire, maybe there would be a problem. Get castled. So as far as I can tell, he just lost a move or two in development and lost the bishop pair. But like I said, I have seen that idea. So there is something, I guess. Kind of doing that in advance. I expect he'll put his knight here at some point. Let's see. He can't actually push this pawn, can he? I can just take it. So he did bring his knight out, as I thought. So what to do? Could push the e-pawn. He takes, I take, and there'd be a queen trade. We just had another game with a queen trade. So let's not do that. Let's bring the queen out. Don't often do this, so be interesting. I kind of wanted to put my knight here. I guess he trades, but also I have to worry about this pawn push here. So let's think about it. I put the knight here and he pushes the pawn. Ooh, let's go ahead and create a safe haven for my queen here. So rook to the c file seems like, yeah, he had the same idea. Yeah, it's where the rooks belong in this structure. So he's caught up in development, so I must not have played the best moves. I still have the bishop pair. Let's see, so as I was trying to calculate, if I put the knight here and he pushes the pawn, I could take the knight. He takes the bishop, then I take the pawn protecting the knight, or he takes the knight and then I take back. Oh no, I go here, yeah, he takes the knight, I take back with the bishop, that's primary line, and then put the knight here, he pushes the pawn, I take his knight, then he can either take back with the rook here and I have to save my bishop, or he can take my bishop and then I can take the pawn, saving the knight. So it looks like what I have to worry about is that line where he just takes the knight back. Okay, so he played a move that prevents knight to e5. I could play pawn to e5. Pawn takes. There's no queen trade now. And his back rank is open. I mean, the diagonal is open towards his king. His back rank is fine. This move may have been aimed at putting the bishop here. Could have been, that's his idea. Ah, no, he wanted to put the knight there. Okay, so I could put the rook here. I could put the knight here. If I go here with the knight and he puts the bishop there, I take the knight, hitting his queen, so he's got to take back. Then I have to move my bishop, but I could take his bishop. Might lead just to a bunch of trades and not much else. I like the knight here guarding this square, but he can trade it off, so he will be able to get a knight there for what it's worth. I could play bishop here and win a pawn. He goes ahead and trades rooks. Yeah, and then he jumps there with the knight. So, yeah, I was thinking bishop here, but he got the rook out of the way. Also, I have to save my bishop, so let's not forget that. He wants to trade bishops. Okay, we're going into that kind of game. Ah, he's hitting the rook. Okay, rook is defended there. I want to just trade that knight off, I think. Ahmed. Well, he traded off a lot of pieces, but at least the queens are still on. And I kind of initiated some of those trades, but so I can't blame it all on him. Pretty even position, it seems. Wow, but he's definitely initiating this one. Okay. That one I can blame on him. He could have looked for something better. But running from a trade is rarely a good idea. If he takes the pawn, I'll take his queen, so... The queen went there, huh? Defend the pawn. Yeah, that's interesting. I was thinking of going there myself, to this aisle to get into the back rank. So he's hitting this pawn, but he can't actually take it because I'll take his knight. But when I move my queen, I'll put his knight here, and then this pawn is a goner. Let's see, I could push this pawn. He takes this pawn, I take this pawn. He takes back, and then I could put my queen over here, which would allow me to activate the queen. Do I have something better? Can't directly activate the queen, and I can't defend this pawn. Now, there are two aisles. I could put myself on this one. You could block with the knight. This one, you could block with the queen, but then I could bring my queen up here. So I'm going all the way to this aisle. Just trying to get in. Be nice, but his knight actually is well positioned there. Stops my idea with the bishop. And queen also. Just looking at that pawn. The queen, the knight can take care, the queen can't. Oh, just goes for the endgame. Well, that's what we got. Let's play it. How about I bring the king in here? I'm just inside the square of the pawn, but his knight is defending this square, so that's important. Oh, okay, that's fine. Let's attack that knight. Okay. So I'm going to round up this pawn, it looks like. But my king will be a little out of place, so this will be interesting. Still a contest. Now he has to move the knight with check to save this pawn. Anyway, my main message here is you shouldn't trade into an endgame unless you don't plan to win. You shouldn't trade into an endgame unless you know you can win it. You know, keep the pieces on and wait till you're in a good position. Now, this is where I could go wrong, huh? If I went here, you could go here, fork my king and bishop, so I have to go here. Knights are very tricky in the endgame. I could also just have taken that pawn. I couldn't have. I was in check. That's right. That was the trick. So I go here. He's still got that check. Whoosh, tough, yeah. So I go here, or here, he's got that check, and I can't go here. So I've got to creep in all the way down along the bottom. Don't want to do that. He goes there, yeah. Makes sense. But now he has to get the rook out of the way, the knight out of the way. He has to get the knight out of the way of the pawn before the pawn can queen. And hopefully I'll have the time to bring my king over. Yep. It's a check, so it gains a tempo, but it is helping me in a way. I want to keep this square covered so he can't threaten my pawns. I want to go on the dark squares as much as possible because I have a light squared bishop. Ooh, that is good. See, the knight is covering these squares and the pawn is covering this square. Okay, so he's just an endgame specialist, I guess, and he just wanted to get to that endgame, and he was going to trust in his skills, his skillful abilities. So this is a good square for my king. I think it stops his king from coming forward. The knight doesn't have too many moves either. If he wanders far enough away, I can maybe get some counterplay with these pawns. That would be nice. So I calculated the endgame, huh? I take the knight, the king takes. I step here, he steps here, I step here. He's got a rook pawn at the end. That's not a win. Maybe it is a win. Well, I should take my own advice. I need to get one step closer to the rook file. my own advice. The king has to get in front of the rook pawn. And he should just push the pawn. And he gets there in time. Okay, he won. That was lucky. So my mistake was here, just to go back to the analysis board. At this point when I took, that was a losing move, right? Because at this point it's 0.00. Oh, even bishop takes e4 is okay. So let's follow this through a bit. But it would have been better if I'd moved my king first, I guess. He takes. What's the key move? King d1, that's what I played. e1, that's what I played. What's my move? King e2, that's what I played. That's what I played. Oops. Oh, g4. Okay, very close. But that's an important finesse. The king comes up, and then we trade pawns. And I have time to get in front of the pawn. He can't stop me from getting over here. See, the king controls all of these squares. So that's a very good in-game finesse to know about. So in this position, push that pawn forward so that his king is slightly out of play. And after you take, you can get in position in time to stop the rook pawn. Most rook pawn endings are drawn when there's just a rook pawn, but your king has to be in a good enough position. That's the lesson there. Okay, hope you guys enjoyed this, and I will see you next time. Bye now.